What's up, gamers? Let's see if I remember what's going on now. Wow, what a good spot. I decided to end it. Jesus. I mean, you always raise an objection, but let's see what we're talking about. Is the trial's over? We're spending more time on this. And the jury like reconsider positions. Everything that is true. Discrediting the witness's powers of recollection. Longer route. It's just bullshit. If I fight back in the wrong way, I'll just make matters worse. Okay, let's object. See what happens.
Objection.
I'm not done yet. No, my learned friend. It's over. That last cross-examination was your final chance to establish a credible defense. And you failed. The die has been cast. There is no more room for debate. Well, might be over as far as you're concerned, but... I can't think of what to say. Oh, teeny tiny. I fix. No fear. If I may, Lord Van Zeeks, it seems somewhat boorish to close down the debate at this point. You insignificant little Eastern Isle must be a lawless hole indeed. For a lowly judicial assistant to have the audacity to intervene at a moment like this. Do! I am, to my shame, still a very inexperienced lawyer. You'll have to forgive me, but I consider my assistant's advice essential and her opinions invaluable. Mr. Daruhodo.
One of these land's great guiding principles is tolerance. So the court will hear you, madam.
Go ahead, Miss Usato. Please.
Very well. Pray, what insight can you give us? What have we all overlooked in this matter that you see fit to pursue further?
Well, the court has been presented with new evidence, but only after the last cross-examination finished.
I see. Do you believe that this new evidence warrants further examination, no?
Mr. Daruhodo, what do you think? It's just possible that this new evidence might be the decisive proof we've been waiting for. The judge is sure to ask the members of the jury to announce their leanings in a moment. And of course, he's sure to ask you to explain what the crucial piece of evidence is and why. So we must take this opportunity to examine the newly presented evidence as thoroughly as possible. Yes, I understand. And thank you, Mr. Sato. So this is the new evidence. The Lion's Pride. Hello, giant burn mark. Oh, look at this. The book has been badly burnt. You're right. You'd never be able to read it in this state, especially not the latter pages. What a terrible waste. Judging from the scorched edges of the paper, I think the damage must have occurred very recently. A book recently damaged by fire. How does that seem to raise a red flag with me? Well, because of the couple that own Mr. Natsume's building had a big fire and get books from your books. So, this is it. Susato-san has managed to win us one last chance here. I can't let it go to waste. The defense wishes to present evidence, my lord.
Very well. The defense may present one further piece of evidence.
Take that! The evidence in question is what we can see from the newly presented photographic print of the scene of the crime. A fourth book found in the victim's hand.
Objection!
We've already discussed the fourth book at length. Other than it being in the victim's grasp at the time of the incident, no significance has been attached to it. Pursuing the matter further would be a flagrant waste of the court's time, as you well know.
Hey Cassie, how you doing? What's up? Ah!
Yes. I'm afraid, counsel, that I must concur with the prosecution on this matter. when I afforded you this opportunity. You led the court to believe that the evidence in question contained the hitherto undiscovered clue. So I must insist that you elaborate, counsel. You will identify this clue at once.
I'm doing good, yeah. Pretty chill day at work today. I mean, the morning was kind of exhausting. We had to went way out into the place in my city where they have like cabins and stuff. And we had to clean an old cabin. That was kind of a pain in the ass. 'Cause that shit was dirty as fuck. Clean the outside, that is, because we have to paint it. But the rest of the day, I was just kind of like milling about. Made a staircase. It was chill. Tomorrow, I'm painting a bunch of stuff from my parents' cabin, but I'm painting it at home. So I'm just gonna chill and listen to podcasts and paint. That's nice. It's a good time.
Do I make myself clear?
Oh, yes, my lord. It's, Mr. Daruhodo. I believe the prosecution's trying to avoid a thorough examination of the evidence. Which means you may very well be on the right track. Yes, I think you might be right.
So, counsel, precisely where is the vital clue to this case, which the fourth book conceals?
Is here. Bam.
I would ask the court to observe the back of the book in question.
The back? What are you? Good gracious! It's been burnt to a crisp!
We have to ask ourselves, why was the victim clutching what's so very clearly an unreadable book? It is undeniably an extremely unnatural thing for her to have been doing.
Objection!
Unnatural, you say? And what of it, my Nipponese friend? No! Were I to concede the point, if it bears no relation to the case, there's nothing to discuss. So, should you wish to assert that this fire damage is some veiled clue to what happened on that day? Pray, do enlighten us all. What truth does this charred book hide? A charred book. There's just one possibility here, which I can't quite bring myself to rule out. It's an outside chance, certainly, but worth a try. Alright, I'll explain my theory.
Don't keep us waiting much longer then, counsel. Explain this theory of yours.
My lord, the burn on the back of this book reveals a startling truth about the book's owner.
I beg your pardon?
But we already know who the book belongs to.
Her victim was gripping it in her hand as she fell to the floor. After all, it's obviously hers. Question of how this book came to be in the victim's hand has yet to be answered. However, as to the question of who the book really belongs to and where it originated, the defense has very credible answers.
Good gracious! How could you possibly?
Very well. I'll play along with this futile attempt to delay your inevitable demise. But do remember, the members of the jury may very well burn you if your little gamble goes awry.
Counsel, the defense's response here is very likely to influence the final outcome of this trial.
Who do you claim is the owner of this burnt book? Is this man?
Take that!
The answer is that the book belongs to the couple who own the house where the defendant has his lodgings. A certain Mr. and Mrs. Garrideb. The landlords. Whether this is something extraordinary coincidence or some kind of fate at work, I don't know, but of all the people in London, one of the 6 chosen for jury duty in this courtroom today is none other than Mrs. Garrideb herself.
Oh my goodness, me? Oh, I think you must be mistaken, sir. I'm not Mr. Garrideb's wife. I'm his maid.
This would be so much easier if you would just drop the pretense. Alright then, how about a simple question for you? Have you ever seen this book in Mr. Garrideb's house?
Oh, I would never presume to know all the books he keeps, sir.
Objection!
This is outlandish behavior. This woman is the accused's landlady, you say? You implicate this hard-working member of the public. You besmirch her without a shred of evidence. Your actions are unforgivable.
Objection!
It's not mere conjecture. The defense happens to know that on the day in question, at almost exactly the same time as the victim was stabbed on the pavement below, another incident was taking place in the room on the top floor of Mr. and Mrs. Garrideb's house.
Good Lord! What sort of incident, counsel?
A fire, my lord.
Right to say it was. Happened in a blink of an eye, you know. The whole place was filled with smoke. Couldn't see a bally thing. Didn't take long for the fire to spread, of course. The bally furniture started going up as well. Worst of it is, I lost my favourite. Book called The Lion's Pride.
The Lion's Pride.
By Jove! The very same title that's the subject of this debate.
Oh dear me!
Objection!
This is risible. All you've told the court is that a book by the same name was involved in a fire. In which case, it would be reasonable to assume that it was burnt to ashes. And entirely unreasonable to infer that it magically removed itself to the scene of the crime. Perhaps it would make more sense if I told you that the cause of the fire was marital discord. Without going into details, it appears Miss Garrideb was considerably enraged. Apparently, she continued to attack Mr. Garrideb, even amid the flames.
Oh, how awful! I can't even imagine such a horrid thing to the one you love. Can you, Rolly?
Absolutely not, sir! My Patricia would never raise a finger against me, sir! all my favorite old novels in that case. But as soon as the fire got hold of them, that was it. Whoosh, up in smoke. Then the wife started hurling things at me. There was I, back up against the window under heavy enemy fire. Incendiary books incoming, 10 to the dozen.
The man had his back up against the window, and he had burning books thrown at him. Goodness gracious! Oh, are you suggesting that the book was thrown through a window and landed coincidentally at the scene of the crime?
Objection!
No. A thorough investigation of the surrounding area was conducted at the very evening of the incident. There's no report of the Garrideb's window pane being broken.
It's quite true. We also saw no sign of broken glass when we visited the Garrideb's household. But is it not conceivable? The window was open at the time and...
Not even remotely. Let us not forget the season and the chilling weather that accompanies it. No Londoner would ever leave a window open in the middle of winter.
Ah!
Does the defense postulate this scenario in all seriousness, counsel? You earnestly claim that the book found at the scene was a flaming projectile thrown by Mr. Garrideb's wife.
I believe it's a possibility, my lord.
That's quite enough! Well, hope that everyone can see you for what you are now, you little foreign trickster. You call yourself a lawyer? Well, you're just a coward! A mean coward!
Really?
Claiming that our little tiff set the whole neighborhood alight. Honestly. Implying that I'm merely posing as a maid for appearance's sake. How could you? It's nothing to do with the beastly case. Not any of it. All you've done is sully our family's name.
No, I assure you, that was never my intention.
Tracking an upstanding citizen's name through the mud, simply to divert attention from your failing defense. I should box your ears. That's what I should do. It's utterly unforgivable.
Too right.
Here we go.
How long are we sat here now, listening to this Nipponese spouting in his fancy foreign theories? But think about it. At the end of the day, the only person who could possibly have stabbed the victim is that little hunchback with the mustache. And he ran away from the scene too.
I do declare you're right.
It's true.
Yes, what did I tell you?
That makes sense to me.
Huh? Sorry. What's that?
Well, it would appear that the ladies and gentlemen of the jury are once again in agreement. What is your position, Lord Van Zeeks?
In truth, my lord, I feel these have been unnecessarily protracted proceedings. But then one must always exercise patience in order to savor the best vintage.
No, wait! The mystery of the fourth book still hasn't been...
If books are your predilection, my learned friend, study them on your own time.
What? No forgive the discourtesy this time?
In that case, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will now state your individual decisions regarding the defendant's culpability for the court to hear.
Guilty!
Guilty.
Guilty!
Guilty.
Guilty! Guilty!
Guilty! Thank you for that unambiguous response.
It's twice now. It's over. Mr. Naruto, don't give up. Mr. Sato? Have you forgotten? The battle isn't over yet. You're not suggesting. Of course, the defense has the right to another summation examination at this point. You can still convince the jurors to change their minds. You have one more chance. My lord, defense asks to exercise its right to a summation examination.
Huh. You believe you still have tricks up your sleeve?
I don't intend to trick anybody. I intend to uncover the truth. This is no time to be downcast. As long as there's a chance, I have to stay strong and determined.
To be continued.
I have considered the defense counsel's request for a further summation examination of the jury. And I have determined that the court must uphold the defense's judicial right to this procedure. So, counsel, you will now proceed with your second summation examination. I presume the jury is ready, Foreman.
We are, my lord.
Very good. In that case, I must ask each one of you now to clearly state clearly and concisely for the court, not like I just did, the grounds on which you find the defendant guilty of this crime.
The accused left behind evidence at the scene, didn't he? Those 3 books of his. If there was some novel alternative explanation about how the victim was stabbed, I might reconsider. Even if the woman was throwing books, it can't be related to this crime if the window is closed, can it? Dearie me, it was only a little book. Hardly life-threatening, even with a direct hit. Look, I just want to get this over with. If I don't bring home some pay tonight, I'll be in a tiny bit of trouble.
Come to think of it, we had a fire at home a while ago. It gave me the sneezes.
That old man is not helpful.
Yes, considerably more tangible arguments from all the members of the jury this time around, it seems. With one notable exception, of course.
My learned student friend was unable to find fault in the previous witness testimony. So the court must accept the fact that it was indeed the accused seen fleeing from the scene. And moreover, no one else was at the scene to commit the crime.
Well, the eyewitnesses are correct. It would seem as though the conclusion is somewhat set in stone. I fail to see how it could be argued any other way.
That means, I'm afraid, that during this summation examination, it's essential that you establish some other tangible explanation for the facts. But how? What even constitutes a tangible explanation here?
Isn't it obvious? Who stabbed the woman and how? Those two details are all you need to provide. Simply give us a name and a method by which the attack was conducted.
Here I was thinking this might be hard. But Mr. Daruodo, you have to do it. Otherwise, this really will be where the trial ends. No pressure then.
That's quite enough preamble. Proceed with the summation examination, please. I presume you're prepared, counsel.
Go! Yes, my lord. Right, Ryu. Focus your mind now. Clearly, the key to this summation examination is going to be juror number 4, the maid. Or should I say, Mrs. Garrideb. We have a book that disappeared from the Garrideb's house in the evening of the incident. And the 4th book found in the victim's hand. Must be a way to link the two. Yes, that's what we have to find. Using every technique I've learned in my short career so far. Whatever it takes. Don't forget to keep an eye on Mr. Garrideb, Mrs. Garrideb, and how she reacts, even to the things other people say. Okay, so here's my crazy theory, right? At the scene of the crime, there's a big snowman right by where the victim died. What if somebody hid in the snowman, did the stab, stayed back in the snowman, later left, building up the snowman again? So I think we pit him against her. Because she's saying, oh, she did hit somebody with the book. But that's not life-threatening, is it? And he's saying there's no way there could be a book. That's crazy.
Objection!
I guess they don't.
Hold it!
I'm sorry, but as foreman of the jury, I have to object. That's complete nonsense.
What?
I'm a banker, don't forget. An educated man. And there's no contradiction as far as I can see. Quite so, Mr. Foreman. I will not permit a whimsical attack against the good members of the Jury Council.
There's nothing whimsical about it. It's very important to listen carefully to every juror, Mr. Daruodo. Then you can decide where the contradictions really lie, if there are any. Alright, so I have to press everybody first.
Hold it!
But the little book was on fire at the time, was it not?
With flames of love, I'll have you know.
It's There's really no such thing as loving incendiary bomb.
Well, he brought it upon himself. It's playing with fire to betray a fiery love. Isn't it? Well, don't you agree?
Oh, well, any kind of betrayal is certainly a bad thing, yeah. But I think the argument might have arisen out of your misunderstanding, Mrs. Garrideb.
Never you mind that. The point is, we were just having a jovial little dispute. Nothing more. And I won't have any more of this suggesting that it was anything whatsoever to do with this crime.
Right, well, we'll see about that. What about juror number 5? He doesn't seem to be turning a hair at Mrs. Garrideb's relentless onslaughts. It's almost as though he's used to it. What a gentle soul he is.
He's useless.
Hold it!
But what about the possibility that the window was open? What about it? I mean, there's just no way it could have been. How can you be so sure? The prosecutor fellow over there said it earlier, didn't he? Winters in London, no joke. You don't want to invite that sort of cold indoors. So no, that window wasn't open. Us Londoners like sitting by the fire and staying warm, see? You couldn't categorically state that the window wasn't open, could you? It just wasn't. They wouldn't have opened it. Then what's the point of even having windows, huh?
Counsel, you will kindly refrain from childish bickering.
Oh, sorry. Somehow I need to show there's a more undeniable possibility that the window was open. Because this young man isn't gonna budge otherwise. The old man talked about fire.
Hold it!
Does that have anything to do with your decision about the defendant's culpability in this case?
Sorry, what's that? You'll have to speak up, lad.
Could you tell us more about that fire?
Oh, it was last winter. My grandchildren baked me a lovely cake on my birthday. It had 75 candles on top it did. What a sight to behold it was.
You put candles on a cake? Was this some kind of devil worship?
Of course not. It was an angel cake. To celebrate my birthday, obviously.
It seems that's common custom here in Great Britain, Mr. Naruhodo.
Anyway, I busted all my puff to blow him out. Only I must have blown wrong somehow. The flames didn't go out, but the candles were flying all over the room. The furniture caught and everything went up. The whole place filled with smoke.
Definitely sounds like devil worship to me. And by the sneezes, I presume you mean a cold. How did you catch a cold from a fire?
Oh, what a fiasco it was. The grandchildren, bless them, threw water over me as they tried to put over the flames. And then, because the whole room had filled up with smoke, of course, we had to open all the windows to clear it.
The windows?
Oh, the biting winter air rushed over me like the devil dancing on my grave, it did.
I caught a terrible cold from it. It put me in the hospital for a while. I won't forget that birthday in a hurry.
I knew it. Devil worship all along. Something about this old man's story is playing on my mind for some reason. We need to demonstrate who apart from Mr. Natsume could have attacked the young woman on the street, as well as how he or she could have done it. Yes, but once again, the jurors' statements are full of personal prejudice. A lot of them seem convinced they're right, even in the face of logical arguments to the contrary. I think you're going to need to pit them against each other and force them to accept alternative explanations. Yes. I don't necessarily need to find contradictions between their assertions. Just a connection might do the trick. Alright, I'll see what I can do. If anything stands out, I'll go in for a strike. That's the spirit. Okay. Let's try.
Objection.
Oh, and quiet. These two jurors' statements clearly contradict one another.
They do? Oh, exactly, counsel.
Don't point at me again. I told you it wasn't me.
What's that you say? Speak up, lad. Speak up.
Juror number 3. Do you see? Oh, me? See what, sir? Did you hear juror number 6's account of his birthday celebration last year? It seems despite being a Londoner, he once opened his windows in the middle of winter. Well, yes, of course, because it was an emergency. I mean, obviously, if the room was filled with smoke from the fire, then you'd be mad not to open the... Oh! Exactly. On the day in question, at the time of the incident, there was a fire in the Garretib's household. And Mr. Garretib had the following to say about it. A whole place filled with smoke.
Oh my.
Oh, my hat.
Oh, my hat! Damn, she drinking hella tea.
Excuse me.
Juror number 4. Do you have something to say about that? Mrs. Garretib!
Oh, dearie me. What's the meaning of this? How dare you imply I'm hiding who I really am?
It's imperative that you confirm something for the court. So please, it's time to drop the pretense now.
What is it?
The fire started in your house that day. Did you or your husband open the window?
What? Oh, I beg your pardon? What are you insinuating?
The room would have been thick with smoke after the carpet and bookcase caught fire as they did. In a situation like that, it's inconceivable that you wouldn't have opened the window.
And what if we did? Oh, all right then. Yes, you're right. My husband was frantically trying to open the window, which can't have been easy, since I continued to give him a justly deserved book battering.
Even though your house was on fire?
Oh, you never stop throwing until the anger subsides. It would have been terribly bad for the nerves to do otherwise.
Of course, I should have realized. That's a significant step forward, Mr. Naruhodo. You've managed to establish that the window was open. We simply must have that added to Mrs. Garridim's formal statement.
Hold it!
How do we know the books are his? But as we now know, there were 4 books, not 3.
Well, what difference does it make?
There's every possibility that the 4th book, in fact, belongs to the defendant's landlord. It does say they're his books, okay.
Yes, that's the part I have a problem with.
Sorry?
Well, the point... The woman was stabbed. This landlord fellow was at home, wasn't he? Enjoying a fiery scrap with his wife or something, you said.
It's not exactly how I put it, no.
Well, anyway, the point is the fellow and his wife were somewhere else when it happened.
I think that's what you call a strong alibi.
So it couldn't have been the landlord who did it. Which leaves only the Nipponese fella. Honestly, I can't see what all this palaver's about. It's a done deal, isn't it?
Suppose it is. I don't have anything witty left to say.
Hold it!
So, you might be willing to change your decision, you mean? Oh my, such delight on your face. But I'm afraid I shan't be swayed by emotion. Despite what you may think of me, I'm a very modern, metropolitan and rational woman. That's great. If one reads the morning papers, it's all forgotten by tea time, isn't it? So why read them in the first place? You see? Modern, metropolitan and rational thinking. Wouldn't you say? And not at all extreme. As I see it, an overwhelmingly suspicious Japanese man has been implicated in overwhelmingly strong testimony. So despite 1 or 2 minor puzzlements, I do declare that the man is overwhelmingly guilty. Modern, metropolitan, and rational logic, wouldn't you say? Overwhelmingly. But us modern gals are always delighted to embrace the new fads, you know. So I'd only be too happy to consider an exciting new theory if you could come up with one. I'd be happy to do that too. If only I could. Let's do our very best not to disappoint the modern metropolitan young lady. Right. Glad you admitted rational there. Do I pit him against her? Because she says it's definitely open. Oh, let's just go. Let's try it.
Objection!
Nope, music didn't stop. Fuck.
Hold it!
just want to get this over with? How can you sit there and say something like that? A man's future is at stake here.
Well, him and me both then. Like I said before.
What? I told you already. I'm a day laborer, aren't I?
If I don't bring down some readies with me tonight.
You'll find me floating face down in the Thames tomorrow morning. What? You heard me. My missus isn't one to mess about. You know, she can be fierce. Believe you me. Another shining example of marital bliss, then. A situation like this cropped up by the other day. It was, well,
do you know?
it's funny. I can't quite remember. Sorry?
It was too frightening, that's the thing.
I must have blocked it out. Helpful. I wonder if Mr. Beat will ever be dragged into the Thames by his scarf. I even go there, Miss Susato. Must be some way to jog his memory about this. Jog his memory.
Hold it!
Do you change your statement from before?
Well, yes. It was one of my most memorable birthdays, you see. I couldn't let it go unremembered.
I'm sure the defendant would be delighted that you're using his trial to explore your past. How's that memory related to this case exactly?
Sorry. What was that? You'll have to speak up, I'm afraid.
Never mind. He's deaf as a post when he wants to be. Actually, this old man's anecdote. Might just provide an alternative explanation. I need to make my point to some of the other jurors.
We used unlit candles on my birthday this year. It's safer that way.
So the window was open when the Garridebs were arguing that day. Yes, Mrs. Garrideb has finally admitted to it, which is a very significant victory for the defense. I feel like the fog's starting to clear. An alternative explanation to this case is starting to show itself.
Hold it!
At the point when the victim was attacked on Briar Road. We know there was a small house fire in the Garrideb's household on the opposite side of the street. Well, yes, it certainly seems that way. And on account of the smoke, I imagine they would have had the windows wide open in spite of the cold. I also know that Mrs. Garrideb was throwing flaming books at her husband. Her husband was backed into a corner by the window due to his wife's frenzied attack. Yes, that's right. So there's definitely a chance that one of the books could have flown past the man and out the window. Only what? Only I can't really see how it could have gone all the way over to the other side of the road. That's all. Ah! I don't really see how it could change my decision, really. Oh, I see. That wasn't enough? What's it gonna take to persuade these people?
Hold it!
Fourth book was found at the scene of the crime, which was very obvious signs of fire damage. The title of the book is The Lion's Pride. The same title, in fact, as the book that Mr. Garrett told us he had been reading.
Well, I really couldn't say.
On the day in question, did you or did you not throw at your husband a copy of The Lion's Pride that he had been reading?
What's it? That was the first thing I could lay my hands on, so I hurled it straight at him. And now come you mention it, yes. He was rather enjoying reading it, you're right.
Why did you not reveal this information to the court from the outset?
Because I couldn't, you insolent little man. I didn't remember. At times like that, you pick up and throw whatever you can lay your hands on, as well you know.
I really don't.
I barely noticed I was throwing a book, much less the title of it.
Excuse me.
What is it, juror number 5?
You know something? I've remembered what it was. That memory I'd blocked out.
Oh,
Was listening to what this granny was saying. Brought it all flooding back. Who are you calling a granny, you cheeky devil? I'm Mrs. Garridib, or the maid I'll have you know.
man doesn't even flinch. He's telling me that's not because he's so used to being hit all the time.
It was about 2 weeks ago now. I'd just gotten back from home from work like. I'd put my hands in my pocket for the wages I'd just earned that day, and I nearly died. There was a hole. Every last penny had dropped out.
Oh dear. What a disaster.
You haven't heard the half of it, boyo.
Oh?
My wife was cutting up some chicken at the time. Oh, I could hardly get the words out. But I told her straight. I've lost the day's wages, love. Next thing I knew, her blade was whistling past me ear. Stuck to the wall next to me, it did. About an inch deep.
No words.
Just terror. I could smell it then, you know. The god-awful stench of the Thames. I was sure I was going to end up face down in the muddy banks that night. I could tell you. No, that's a real disaster, isn't it?
I'll never use the word lightly again.
Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is this. When women lose their rag, they'll throw anything at you. Knives, hatchets, hammers, you name it.
Mr. Dorado, you mustn't think all women are so short-tempered and unrefined, says the girl who fucking judo tosses me all the time. No, I wasn't thinking that. Throwing household objects at people is, well, it's so uncivilized. At least attack with honor, using a bow or the like. What? Attack? Who are you gonna attack? Never mind. Anyway, this man's words could be rather significant, I think. Alright, we'll come back to the bow and arrow thing later. If I dare. I mean, this is novel. Dare I? I dare.
Objection.
Yeah, it worked.
These two statements clearly have a deeply significant connection.
Good grief! You mean they don't contradict each other? Explain, counsel, at once.
Juror number 2. Do you think, perhaps, that this could be one such novel alternative?
Oh my. Whatever do you mean?
An alternative explanation as to how the victim was stabbed in the back.
What are you talking about?
We've demonstrated that the 4th book, The Lion's Pride, that was found at the scene of the crime, originated in Mr. Garrideb's room on the top floor of his house. Therefore, it's equally possible that some other object besides the book could have found its way from the Garrideb household to the street below.
Eh? What's that now?
After all, Mrs. Garrideb could have thrown any number of different objects at her husband. Isn't that right, juror number 4?
What are you insinuating now, you little beanpole?
I'm beginning to think that just as the true origins of this book came to light, perhaps she's had a feeling this might be what happened.
Now you listen here, you Eastern Gala. As the foreman of this jury, I demand a straight answer. You give us this yarn about some other object making its way out of the house. But what? What was it?
I'm really taking a big gamble here. That was a bold accusation to make, but I haven't any real evidence to back it up.
Or do you?
But I'm certain at the very least, this warrants further investigation. Alright, Mr. Foreman. I'll try to explain the defense's theory.
The other object that found its way to the household from the crime of the scene was this knife. Oh, look here, Mr. Naruto. Just at the tip. A small piece of the blade appears to be missing.
You're right. Well spotted, Mr. Sato.
I wonder what could have happened to it.
Yes. You don't think it could still be lodged in the victim, do you?
Oh dear, I hope not. That sounds terribly painful. Anyways.
Take that!
Juror number 4, Mrs. Garrideb.
What? What now?
Must apologize in advance for this. But I need you to confirm something else for the court. This knife. Have you ever seen this knife before?
Oh. Good Lord, counsel. What on earth are you doing? That weapon was lodged into the victim's back, man.
Thanks. Thanks.
Lord, remember when the victim was attacked? Mr. and Mrs. Garrideb were in the throes of an argument. Mrs. Garrideb was hurling anything she could at her husband, who had been backed up against a window. A window that had been opened to clear the smoke, and through which a book sailed to land at the crime scene.
You can't seriously believe that the book was found in the victim's grasp.
Are you saying that it flew out the window and across the street to land neatly in her hand?
Ah, even my missus hasn't got a aim like that.
Yes, I admit. There are many details we don't yet understand. But that's the point. That's precisely why. We must not allow this trial to end. Not right now.
Oh my.
Ah! Mrs. Garrideb, your answer, please. Have you seen this knife before or not?
Ah! Lord, I wish to change my decision. I'm a woman of my word, after all.
Thank you, madam.
Yes, I agree. I certainly didn't see this coming, but I just don't think it would be right for this trial to come to an end with so many unanswered questions.
Mr. Foreman!
I'd have to agree.
Not that I think the granny did it, mind. Yes, you know what? I'm not quite happy with this at the moment either.
All together now, ladies and gents.
We did it! Oh, congratulations, Mr. Naruto!
As a result of the defense's summation examination, a number of Jara's leanings have changed. And with that, I go on break. I'll be back in 5 to 10. Sorry, I had to do some work-related stuff. I'm still making tea, but I'll be back in like a second. Okay, actually back now.
Two jurors call guilty against 4 now calling innocent. Accordingly, the opinion of this court is divided. This trial will continue. Now then, Lord Van Zeeks, how does the prosecution wish to proceed?
This trial is rapidly descending into a farce. Like a corked wine, the first few sips are bitter enough. But what follows is so repugnant, it's good for nothing save the gutter.
If I may, Lord Van Zeeks, the defense has just put forward a credible alternative explanation for what happened.
Credible? Is that your considered opinion, Mr. Foreman? The defense's argument is a joke to which I barely know how to respond. But let me start by insisting that you must all familiarize yourselves better with the relative positions of those places being discussed.
What do you mean by that? What's his angle this time?
It should already be more than apparent that between the crime scene and the Garrideb's household runs a rather wide street, Briar Road. Which means that the distance from the Garrideb's house to the scene is some Yes, 15 yards.
Let me see. 15 yards. That's around 14 meters. It's not very far. 14 meters? That's a little farther than I imagined.
And as you ladies and gentlemen of the jury rightly noted, as having portentous significance, the fourth book was found in the victim's clutches. In other words, the smoldering books, wantonly hurled by the lady of the house, traveled some 15 yards to land on the opposite side of the road, neatly between the collapsed victim's fingers and thumb.
Well, that's stupid. That's a stupid argument. Because, okay, this could be the scene of the events, right? First, book gets thrown. Victim is like, the fuck? Did a book just get thrown at me? I'm gonna go look at this book. Pick it up. Suddenly knife is thrown. Knife and back. This is conjecture.
Is that your final conclusion, my learned and deluded friend? And did the jackknife follow a near identical trajectory to plunge into the middle of the victim's back? This fantasy is somewhat stretching the notion of having a bad day for the victim, I think. Even those pathetic serialized detective stories have more believable plots.
Ah! There's nothing I can say to that. That prosecutor loves the sound of his own voice. Mr. Sato. Serialized detective stories are pathetic, are they? How dare he? Maybe let's pick our battles here. But Lord, might I be allowed to speak?
As judicial assistant, you may speak for the defense, yes. Go ahead.
The prosecution may consider the idea of fantasy. But what the defense has postulated was believable enough to persuade the jury to change its leaning. And as such, the court has a duty to explore this alternative explanation as thoroughly as possible. To that end, juror number 4, Mrs. Joan Garadeb, must be called to testify and submit to cross-examination.
Saints alive! A cross-examination of a juror. Order, order, order! Well, this is highly irregular. It's unprecedented for a member of the jury to be summoned to the witness stand.
Objection!
And unnecessary.
Lord Van Zeeks!
There are already witnesses in the stand, whose testimony the defense may further cross-examine. My learned friend's farcical theory has any truth in it. And both the burning book and jackknife must have flown through the sky before this couple's eyes.
Hey, Jojo. Yeah. This guy's something else, man.
And we must assume they would be able to testify accordingly.
What say you, witnesses?
Yes, sir!
Constable Rowley Beat reporting for duty, sir!
Well, good morning, officer.
Sorry for dozing until now, sir! I haven't slept for a month on account of a villain who's appeared on my beat, sir!
How you doing, man? Oh, they're so heroic, these London bobbies.
Patricia, my darling, I've been neglecting you, but no more!
Oh, Rowley, my hero, you make me swoon.
Very well. I hereby reject the defense's request
Oh,
and order the witnesses in the stand to testify again. State forthwith before the court any details pertaining to the defense's alternative explanation of events. Yes, sir!
I'm doing good, man. I've been working for my dad lately. Doing like roofing and painting and stuff. He's like a general handyman. Other than that, you know, just streaming, chilling, trying to apply for other jobs, that kind of thing.
This case has nothing to do with Mrs. and Mrs. Garrideb.
That came out wrong.
Believe me, a London Bobby is good for his word. You see, sir, the windows in the top floor of the Garrideb's house are top-hinged casements.
Obviously, if anything were to be thrown out the window, we would have seen it. I did leave the scene and go fetch help, but my trusty Rowley was there to make sure nothing was disturbed.
I didn't take my eyes off the crime scene for 1 minute, sir. Nothing strange to report on that front, sir.
That's a lie. Because when she came back, he was face down in the snow. This has been stated before. He was sleeping in the snow.
Well, this is quite startling. Top-hinged casement windows.
That detail was not in the police report, Constable.
Oh, yes, sorry about that. I must have been a little drowsy,
You do not excuse your sins with drowsiness every time, Constable.
No, sir.
Sorry, but what exactly is a top-hinged casement window?
And you would not excuse your ignorance with such trite remarks, my learned friend.
Of course. Sorry. I found it, Mr. Naruhodo. Cast your mind back to the windows of Mr. and Mrs. Garrideb's room. Alright, I'll try. So the window opens in order for air to circulate inside the house. But as it is a top-hinged casement window, it swings open along the upper edge, you see.
I'm glad you've rectified your ignorance. A casement window's most prominent feature is its stay, a metal bar which prevents the window from being opened beyond a certain amount.
It prevents it opening? This is all news to me.
Absolutely correct, sir. In other words, if a book or knife would have been thrown through an open window, it would have clattered against the pane and fallen straight down in the pavement below.
Oh,
You see the problem then? Good. Your education in Windows is complete. There's never any possibility of either the book or the knife traveling 15 yards over the road. That is, unless the window pane had been shattered. Something we've discounted already.
That can't be! Did you see that, Rolly? The young Japanese man just collapsed in agony. Oh yes, my darling. I saw it. I saw how he crumbled before me. Oh, Rolly, you're so strong. How's this happening? Haven't even started the cross-examination yet. And already my argument's been destroyed.
Counsel, if you would drag yourself upright again, the court awaits your cross-examination.
My lord? Oh, good. Another desperate situation. Alright. This case has nothing to do with Mr. and Mrs. Garrett. Believe me, Lyndon Bobby is good for his word. Thrown out of the window, we would have seen it. Well, this is the most...
Hold it!
the thing that I can scrutinize the most. Yes! You said that you went to a nearby police box to fetch another officer, is that right? That's right, yes. If it had been on Rowley's beat, I would have known exactly where I was going, of course. Don't feel bad, my love. You can't be expected to know the location of every police box on every beat. So Rowley told me the way, only I sort of got a little lost on the way. Patricia, my darling, that's why I love you. Your terrible sense of direction is bewitching to me. Oh, Pat. Oh, Rowley. Oh, please. So, I suppose I was gone for about 15 minutes. But like I said, my Rowley was at the scene the whole time, making sure nothing was disturbed. I was off duty at the time, of course, but a true Bobby's never really off duty, sir.
Hold it!
Nothing to report. That's correct, sir. I had my eyes wide open the entire time. Never looked away for a second. No one else approached the scene, and nothing was removed from it. I can swear to that on the yard's honour, sir. Really? Seems a little strange. Beg your pardon, sir? Strange, sir? Seems altogether regular to me. This burnt copy of The Lion's Pride was originally in the Garrettab's household. So the question remains, how did it find its way into the hand of the victim? Can you shed any light on that, seeing as you were at the scene of the crime the entire time? Aha! Could it be a different copy, sir? One that just happened to be burnt as well? Even if that were possible, how would the victim be gripping a book like that in her hand? As we can see from this photographic print, she had a bag over her shoulder. Well, sir, that book was in the lady's hand from the moment we arrived at the scene. Is that so? There's something about this statement that's not sitting right with me. Two mysteries of how that knife ended up in her back, and how that book ended up in her hand. There must be some common thread between them. I'm so sorry, Mr. Naruhodo. I had no right to speak out. What do you mean? I requested the cross-examination of Mrs. Garrideb without consulting you. Even if the judge did deny me. Oh, I see. Well, I agree with you. We do need a testimony from Mrs. Garrideb. We're ever going to get the truth of this matter. Do you really think so? Well, think about it. No matter how far it is across the road or how that window opens, Mr. Garrideb's book found its way to the scene of the crime somehow, didn't it? You're right. And then there was Mrs. Garrideb's reaction to me showing her the knife. The woman's hiding something, I'm sure of it. You're right again. We need to use this cross-examination to uncover more clues. We'll get to the bottom of this one way or another, I swear. Yes. Okay. I'm trying to think of the scene of the crime, right? There's a weird broken bike. I was thinking, like, what if she was on the bike, she crashed when she got the thing in her head? Because it's like directly below the window. And then the knife fell in her back. And then she like stumbled over. But that seems, it would leave a trail of blood. There's so many discrepancies to that.
Hold it!
By which you mean they don't open fully, is that correct?
Yes, sir. They just stand a little bit of air through the house, you see. So they're restricted as to how much they open.
And therefore anything thrown out of the window from inside the room would simply strike the pane and fall to the street directly below. For clarity, allow me to mark the map. Here is the location where the objects would have fallen.
Yes. Directly opposite the scene of the crime. On the other side of the wide road.
Would it have been so hard for somebody to mention this top-hinged casement before? Well, I have another question for you, Constable.
What would that be, sir?
How do you even know? Why would you have any idea what sort of windows Mr. and Mrs. Garrideb's house was furnished with?
Oh, well, sir, that's very simple. You see, I helped with the investigation yesterday.
Excuse me.
Do you have something to add, Mrs. B?
Sorry.
You look, well, delighted. Is there some particular reason for that?
Oh, I was just remembering, that's all. We really were so lucky.
Lucky? What do you mean?
Well, of course I feel terrible for the old poor woman that was attacked. Don't misunderstand me, please. But we were just so lucky it didn't happen on Rowley's beat. It was so close, you see.
Oh, hadn't realized.
Ah, yes, that's straight. Briar Road. That's the boundary between Rowley's beat and the next one. Isn't that right, my love?
Constable Beat.
Huh? Oh, that's right. That's the reason I was helping out with interviewing the occupants at the Garrideb household yesterday. The house is on my beat, you see, sir. Huh. It really was cutting it close then.
He moved the body. Constable, I wonder if you could clarify something. If the Garrideb household is on your beat, does that mean that the pavement next to it is as well?
Outside Mr. Garrideb's house? Yes, ma'am. The pavement on that side of the road is part of my beat. I see. I was unaware of that. Just think, if the woman had been attacked just on the other side of Briar Road, we would have never been able to go for that meal to celebrate our wedding anniversary. But that's the life of Bobby after all.
Extraordinary people are Bobbies. Tirelessly working for the benefit of all Londoners.
Do you know what I think? I think it was a good Lord's way of rewarding my Rowley for all of his hard work. Don't you think so, my darling? That must be it, Pat, my love. That must be it. I think perhaps we should make sure we have the information officially on record. Leave it to me, Mr. Naruto. I'll take care of it immediately. And now it's my turn, I think.
Hold it!
But according to my notes here, the sun had gone down. It was already dark. How Betrolli and I were strolling along, gazing at the night sky and looking out for our lucky star. Sorry? The star that'll guide us to eternal happiness. Can it guide you to answer the question? If a flaming book had cut across the sky in front of us, it would have lit up like a shooting star. And if I'd seen a shooting star, I would have made a wish upon it. Let Rowley be an inspector, I would have said. 3 times at least. Oh, of course. With the smog and everything, we couldn't actually see any stars.
In short, are you trying to say that neither a book nor a knife crossed the sky before you?
Yes, sir. That's correct, sir. As sure as the night sky in London is starless, sir. Certainly seems like they're telling the truth. And when we saw the poor woman fall to the ground, so we ran straight over to help her.
Just outside Constable Beats Beat. Border which runs down the middle of Briar Road.
Hold it!
How can you say that for certain?
A very good question, sir. And the answer is this. It has the noble founding principles of the force written on it as a reminder to all us policemen who've sworn our duty.
He showed us that before, didn't he? Did he? I can't say I remember.
To patrol the streets of London town and uphold the peace of the common man. That's what the job's all about. And that's why I can stand here today besides my long-suffering wife and tell you Bobby's good for his word. Or rubbing my tired eyes admittedly, sir.
Oh, Rowley, you're so manly.
Of course I am, my darling Patricia. Oh, Pat.
Oh, Rowley. No. None of this is what I meant. I meant, how can you say for certain this case has nothing to do with Mr. and Mrs. Garrett?
Oh, I say, sir. You should have said so earlier, sir.
Yeah, well, so could you answer the question? That was a waste of time then.
Absolutely, sir. I will answer it to the fullest of my ability, sir. There's a surprising reason why Mr. and Mrs. Garridim's domestic dispute can't be related to this case. Before I get into that, sir, just one thing.
Yes?
I'd very much like you and all your countrymen to understand the great British institution of the Scotland Yard. So I hope you'll take back some tales of us London bobbies and how we uphold our guiding principles.
I wasn't planning on going back just yet. I've only just arrived here.
So to that end, sir, I'll be happy to lend you my warrant card for your perusal. But I must warn you, you won't be able to go through it without shedding a few tears.
Thank you, I'll try.
Can I ask you something? Please, Mr. Lawyer, sir.
Oh, yeah, of course. What is it?
You're doubting us, aren't you? I could tell.
What? I wasn't really, I mean...
What's she doing? Please, just because I'm a woman, it doesn't make my testimony any less valuable. You might just say me as the wife of a policeman, but I'm a woman by my word I am.
I really don't remember ever suggesting that I doubted you.
No excuses. I don't want to hear it. My voice will be heard. My lord, you'll let me speak, won't you?
Yes, Mrs. Beat. I will allow you to supplement your testimony, if you so desire. Sometimes, the path of least resistance is the sage one.
That was a very loud mutter.
I heard that. A Japanese man thinks policeman's wife's word counts for nothing, does he? Well, watch out, sir. I might let you get away with something like that, and my Rowley won't.
Duly noted, Mrs. Beat. Please, I humbly ask you to continue.
What could she possibly be about to say, I wonder? I know what I saw. My eyes never let me down. Okay. Item 1. A policeman will strive to preserve the peace within his allotted beat. Patrolling officer is expected to walk 20 miles around his beat every day for furtherance of community relations. Item 1. Any crimes fall under the jurisdiction of the beat in which they are discovered. When a crime is discovered on his beat, a policeman must assist with initial investigation and help the detectives.
Hold it!
Mrs. Beat, nobody's questioning what you've told us. I saw it, I did. That evening. I saw it clearly. A little Eastern man with the whiskers and a funny curved back, slinking away from the scene. And I know what I didn't say as well. I didn't say any flaming books or knives flying through the sky. All very clear. You also mentioned something about having a poor sense of direction. Oh, yes, well, it's a little embarrassing, really. I'm always ending up in the wrong place. When I've made arrangements to meet Rowley, he gets ever so cross.
Excuse me.
Thank you. Constable Beat, is there a problem?
Oh, no, sir. No problem, sir.
Did your wife's remark just now bring something to mind, perhaps?
Oh, well, in a way, sir. Yes, sir. I was just remembering that the same thing happened that evening is all.
You mean, Mrs. Beat lost her way on the night of the incident?
Well, you see, I sent her off to find a police box in the next beat over from mine. She was gone a fair bit longer than what I was expecting. I thought she'd be back inside 10 minutes, but my darling was gone a good 15.
Oh, Rowley, you're such a tease. The reason I was long was because of the bouquet, silly.
Bouquet?
Sorry, what bouquet are you talking about? Oh, it was a present for our wedding anniversary. Rowley's so romantic. He saved up with it with farthings and a pennies he found in the gutter while he was doing his rounds. Yeah. How romantic. I'd forgotten all about it until just now. Had you, my darling?
Oh, yes. But that was just between us. No talking about it to anyone else, darling. You have to promise.
Really? Oh. What was that all about? Constable Beat looked very obviously troubled during that exchange.
I'm afraid I can't offer any useful insight, Mr. Naruhodo. But I'm quite sure of one thing. We have to ask Mrs. Beat about the bouquet.
Mrs. Beat, this bouquet you just mentioned. I'd like you to add details about it to your testimony, please. Oh, really? Yes, I'd love to.
Hold it!
You mean you dropped the bouquet at the scene of the crime? Yes, that's right. Oh, I was so upset. We ran over. I saw it was a woman with a knife in her back. I was so shocked, I dropped the bouquet Rowley gave me. I was in a dark spot where the street lights weren't casting any light, so I didn't notice at first. And then, you went to the police box to report it to the policeman whose beat it was on. Yes, and I came back to the scene together with the other constable, you see. That's when I spotted my bouquet again. But the funny thing is, when I went to pick it up, it was nowhere near the victim's body at all.
In case you need reminding, Miss Beat, The victim is not deceased.
I was all flustered for a moment before I heard a voice calling me from the other side of the road. Your husband, presumably. That's right. Silly me. I'd gone to the wrong side of the street. Although, I'm gonna blame the bouquet this time. I can't think of how it got there. I really can't. Bouquet somehow moved from one side of Briar Road to the opposite.
Curious indeed.
Isn't it? But the worst of it, I forgot to pick up the bouquet again when we left the scene. That beautiful rose Rowley bought me, with the change from the gutter he spent so long collecting.
By bouquet, do you perhaps mean this sorry solitary rose?
Oh, yes, that's it. That's the bouquet Rowley bought me for our anniversary, with the old bits of change he found in the gutter. Maybe just call it a rose.
Tell us, Lord Van Zeeks, where did you come by the flower?
According to the report by the police officer in charge of the crime scene investigation, it was found at the edge of the pavement in front of the Garrideb household.
In front of the Garrideb's house?
Although it wasn't noticed until the morning, as it lay where the street lamps cast no light. It was believed to be no relevance to the case, as it was found on the opposite side of the thoroughfare.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. Could I have it back now, please?
No, I think for good measure, this rose should be added to the court record as evidence.
Oh. But it's a symbol of our love. I want it back after the trial. Do you hear me? I want it back.
Good grief! Rest assured, I shall do my very best not to forget, Mrs. Beat.
Nothing strange to report, he says.
Except the flower changing sides.
Right?
Objection! You claim, Constable Beat, there was nothing to report in the 15 or so minutes you were guarding the scene.
How you doing, Crash? Long time no see.
But that cannot be. What do you mean to say? In your testimony just now, Mrs. Beat, you explained to the court that when you arrived back to the scene of the crime with the policeman assigned to that beat, the bouquet you had dropped at the victim's side was no longer anywhere nearby.
Objection!
Yes, on the opposite side of Briar Road to where the victim was attacked. But considering the size of that meager bouquet, if a single sorry bloom could so be described, no doubt it was blown in the wind across the street, back into the gutter where it belongs.
Crash says, heck yeah. Been doing well. Love the original Phoenix Wright games, but I've never seen these ones. Hope you're liking them. I'm enjoying it a lot, dude. This one just came out like earlier this month. Or no, late last month. Yeah. It's very recent to be localized. It's 2 games in one. Yeah. So it's real cool. Real cool. It's like the origins of the like well, I mean he's called Naruhodo here, the same way that Phoenix Wright is in Japan. So it's the origin of like his lineage and how they got into lawyering. This is the original in the 1900s.
Meager?
Objection!
But if that were the case, why did Constable Beat not testify to the fact?
No one else approached the scene, and nothing was removed from it. Constable Beat swore to the Scotland Yard's honor.
But the bouquet belonged to me. It has nothing to do with the case. That's why Rowley didn't mention it, I'm sure. No. Because sadly, it's not only your bouquet we're talking about here. More than one thing in this case is mysteriously the wrong way around.
What are you talking about?
Think about it. Besides Mrs. Beat's bouquet, there's Mr. Garrett's book. Mr. Garrett's copy of The Lion's Pride, which was thrown out the window by his wife, would have struck the pane of the casement window and landed here on the west side of the street. And yet, it was actually found here, on the opposite side of the road, in the victim's hand. Meanwhile, according to the testimony we heard, Mrs. Beat's bouquet should have been dropped here, at the scene of the crime, on the east side of the street. But in fact, it was actually found here, on the opposite side of the road, in front of Mr. and Mrs. Garrett's house. There's no logical explanation for those things, unless somebody deliberately moved them.
Late reaction.
What are you trying to say? The way you're talking, it sounds like you think my Rowley's done something wrong.
Don't you listen to a word that scrawny lawyer says? Wittering on about books and bouquets. Why should we care? It's nitpicking. That's what it is.
Oh, good. Mrs. Garrett's come around. You might call it nitpicking, Mrs. Garrett, but deliberately meddling with the scene of the crime. As a criminal offense, it's called,
Tampering, Mr. Naruhodo.
But the person responsible for this tampering cannot admit to it. For a very subtle but compelling reason.
Objection!
Tampering. You've barely heard the term before. Tell us, my learned friend, who would possibly have cause to carry out such an elaborate deception?
Yes, there is someone who tampered with the scene of the crime that evening. All the evidence and all the testimony points to that one particular person.
Counsel, I must demand that you substantiate this conjecture. Who are you saying is responsible for tampering with the scene of the crime? It's Mr. Rowley.
Take that!
Obviously, there's only one person it could have been. Constable Rowley Beat. It was you!
What? A policeman? A member of the Scotland Yard?
What nonsense! Why would my Rowley do something like that? There's no straighter than my husband.
Alright.
No Bobby works more tirelessly than the people of London. Mrs. Beat, you said in your testimony that your husband asked you to go to a nearby police box to fetch the officer on duty. 15 minutes that you were absent from the scene, is the only opportunity anyone had to tamper with it. You're making it up. It's all nonsense. It's all lies. What about the Japanese man with the whiskers? I bet this was him. He did it.
Objection!
If that was true, Constable Beat would have seen him do it. Oh. And forgive me for pointing it out, but when you dropped your bouquet, Mrs. Beat, it was after the defendant had fled the scene. Well.
Objection!
First, you make accusations about the landlord and his wife, and now you incriminate a policeman as well. But your accusations lack one very important thing. You claim the crime scene was tampered with. But there's only one reason anyone would commit such reckless crime. To hide something.
That's right. He's right. My husband and I just happened to be there. That's all. So why would he have anything to hide? It doesn't make any sense.
You offer no motive for this alleged tampering. And until you do, your accusations are nothing but empty threats.
Constable Beat has a very good reason for wanting to tamper with the scene of the crime. That's the key to this entire affair. Mr. Naruhodo, have you managed to solve the mystery?
Counsel, you've made a very serious accusation against the London police officer. You're mistaken. I'm sure I need not point out that your reputation as a lawyer will be irrevocably damaged. With that stark warning in mind, you will now explain to the court the motive of this alleged tampering.
Yes, my lord.
Okay. I won't end now, but I will be right back because I need some more tea. So, right back. I'm back. Constable's Beat's motive for tampering with the scene was to hide where the victim fell.
Where the victim fell to the ground. That's what the Bobby had to cover up, at all costs.
What?
Where the victim fell? You mean, where she was attacked? What are you talking about? We told you at the very start, didn't we? On the pavement of Briar Road. We saw it happen, remember? It was right here. As if anyone didn't already know. It's certainly what everyone's been led to believe. But in fact, that isn't where the victim was stabbed at all. What? What?
I'm beginning to wonder where this tumultuous trial will end, Counsel.
If that's your assertion, then the court is dying to know, my Nipponese friend. Where are you proposing that the crime actually took place that evening?
Here.
Take that!
But that's...
On the opposite side of the road.
What? I don't understand. On the evening in question, Mr. Garrett's book fell directly down from the open Mr. Garrett's book fell directly down from the open window above. I said it right the first time. And your bouquet, Mrs. Beat, never moved at all. What did move was the scene of the crime itself.
Good gracious!
Objection!
Perhaps you haven't been listening to the ample testimony the court has heard. But these witnesses both saw the moment the attack took place.
That's right. I saw it with my very own eyes. It's 5 o'clock in the evening, and already dark. There was a typical London fog on the ground. You saw the incident unfold and ran to the victim's aid. That was actually on the west side of Briar Road. No, that's not true. It can't have been. Constable Beat then arranged for you to be absent for a while by sending you for help. And during the 15 minutes you were away, he transplanted the crime scene. He moved all the things shown to this print. The victim herself and 4 books. He moved everything, in fact, to the pavement on the east side of Briar Road.
Extraordinary.
The constable overlooked one thing. What? What did he overlook?
The bouquet, I presume.
Exactly. The prosecution told the court just a few minutes ago about the discovery of the rose bouquet. Lord Van Zeek said it wasn't noticed until the morning, as it lay where the street lamps cast no light.
Yes, it couldn't have been seen in the dark, obviously.
Which is why it was only the bouquet that was found in its original position on the pavement on the west side of Briar Road. And that is the defense's theory about what really happened that evening. How do you respond? Constable Rowley Beat. I'm very sorry. Didn't mean to nod off again, but I haven't slept properly in a month. Did I miss anything important? Oh, Rowley. It isn't true, is it? What the lawyer said? It's all lies, isn't it? No, it is. Because you're the most upstanding righteous man I know. I had a dream. A terrible dream. All the things I did that night. Everything come out. Everything exposed. Early it seems. It wasn't a dream at all.
Good golly! Order! What on earth is the meaning of all this?
Oh, Rowley. Why? Why'd you do something like this? Moving a corpses? It's a criminal offence, isn't it? Wishing the victim dead should be one too.
Constable, explain yourself. Why would you do this? As a respected member of Scotland Yard, your duty is to protect the people of London Town.
Oh, I can't say, sir.
What?
Really, I'm ever so sorry about all of this. For damaging the Yard's reputation for everything. I have a possible explanation. But why, on that particular evening, Constable Beat felt compelled to move the scene of the crime? You think of one reason.
What? How could you possibly know? You a foreigner, presuming to understand the mind of a Scotland Yard policeman.
And yet, Lord Van Zeeks, it is this foreigner who's uncovered the startling truth of the matter thus far. I believe it would be beneficial to the court to hear this extraordinary young lawyer's theory. Counsel for the defense, if you please.
Yes, my lord.
Now then, I think you'd better show us some evidence.
At once, my lord. England, Japan. Makes no difference where you come from. Human emotions are the same. And I think I have a fairly good idea of the feelings behind this man's actions.
It's his book that he gave me for no reason.
Take that!
I realize that I'm a foreigner in this land, and I've only just arrived from Japan. Which is why all this information about London's so-called bobbies is completely new to me. I've learnt that, though honorable, patrolling the beat is the most demanding work in the world, for example.
Keeping the peace, looking after the citizens on his beat in all kinds of ways. There's no doubt that the young Bobby is charged with a great deal to do each day, certainly.
But Constable Beat, day in question was special.
Special? How?
On account of this bouquet, my lord. Oh, yes. It was our very first wedding anniversary. Constable Beat had worked so hard to be able to afford this simple gift for his wife. I was so looking forward to taking her out for a celebratory meal.
When he and Mrs. Beat stumbled upon a crime along Briar Road. when he saw that shadowy figure through the fog collapse on the pavement ahead of them. What must have gone through the man's mind?
Looking forward to celebrating his wedding anniversary. His beat put us up a lot, being married to a Bobby like me. I wanted to show my dear wife how much I care.
This is the warrant card that Constable Beat offered to lend to me earlier. Inside, among the rules for patrolling policemen, it says, when a crime's discovered on his beat, a policeman must assist with the initial investigations and help detectives.
Aha!
Constable Beat, is that or is that not the reason why you moved the whole scene of the crime that day?
Yes. Everything you said, it's all right.
So that's it. It was all to do with the boundary of your beats.
Toe. Exactly. To summarize, the incident actually occurred on Constable Beat's beat.
Good gracious! Constable, do you realize the gravity of what you've done?
It was the first time since I became a copper that I'd ever cursed God. Stay close to me, Pat. A criminal could be lurking somewhere. As we ran over to the scene, I'd every intention of doing my duty as a police officer. We've got to report this to the station as quickly as possible. But then it dawned on me. I realised where we were, where the victim was lying, and what that meant for me. When a crime's discovered on his beat, a policeman must insist with initial investigations and help detectives. Why here? Why did this have to happen here? And why tonight, of all nights? Why? It's a copper's job to guard the scene of the crime, so I told Pat she'd have to go to the nearest police box and fetch whoever was on duty there. It was then, when I opened my mouth to speak, it just came out. I couldn't believe the words that were coming out of my own mouth. This is the next beat to mine, Pat. So you'll have to go to the police box that covers it. Turn right along Matrim Street and then... I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. No, Constable. I just wanted... just that one night, to take my Patricia out for dinner. Oh, Rowley. Just that one night.
You knew that if the incident was on your beat, your evening of celebration would be ruined. And so you decided to move the entire crime scene outside your jurisdiction, just across the street, to the east pavement of the Briar Road, which falls under the neighboring beat's care.
You see, I thought... Well, I was sure the victim was dead, you see.
I beg your pardon?
Oh, of course he did. Otherwise, my Rowley would have never left the poor woman freezing on the cold pavement.
Ah, I see your meaning now.
But God got me back for my sins, didn't he? That's why I missed the rose I bought for Pat. Oh no, Rowley, that was my fault. I should never have dropped it in such a dark place. I'm so sorry, Rowley. And can you tell us, Constable? How many books did you move from one side of the road to the other in total? 4 it was. Yes, sir. Definitely 4. 3 of them dropped by Mr. Natsume, and the 4th being the one that fell from the window upstairs in the Garretham's household, of course. But what made you place that book in the victim's hand? And all the others were scattered haphazardly around, I mean. Oh, well, sir, that's because that's how I found it.
How you found it? What do you mean?
We first ran over to the scene. The victim was already holding the book. So, when I moved everything, I made sure it was still in her hand. Sure it was this book, Alliance Pride, that the victim was holding. Oh yes, sir. No doubt about it, sir. Oh, interesting. I thought it was an open and shut case. There were only 2 people at the scene, and me and Pat both saw it happen. However, which way you looked at it, it had to be the fellow who ran off who done it. I thought... I couldn't see the harm, really. I didn't think moving it over the road would make a jot of difference. I suppose this is it for me now. I've had it.
Lord.
Yes, Lord Van Zeeks.
I believe that concludes the cross-examination of the witnesses. Constable, you may withdraw.
Yes, sir! Mr. Prosecutor, sir. What'll become of my Rowley? What'll happen to him?
But now, you're free to go home. The police will contact you in due course.
Please don't punish my husband. This is all my fault. It's because I'm always moaning at him for coming home late. Leave it now, Pat. Let's go home. Oh, I'm tired. Alright then, my love.
One last thing, Constable.
Sir?
Let this be a lesson to you. In a criminal investigation, every detail matters, however insignificant it may seem to you.
Yes, sir.
Carve that lesson in your mind. And never again make the mistake of tampering with the scene of a crime.
Never again, sir. You mean to say?
Leave now. This trial is not yet over.
Sir!
Well, quite a startling revelation, I must say. However, whoever thought a third party transplanting the entire scene of a crime like that?
Indeed, my lord. Nevertheless, there are some immutable facts here, principally that the accused, Mr. Soseki Natsume, is the only person who could possibly have committed the crime.
Objection!
No, I disagree. Now that we know the true scene of the incident, there is someone else. Another person who could be responsible for the knife in the victim's back. Forgive me for being presumptuous, but I believe the prosecution is probably well aware of this possibility already.
Lord Van Zeeks, is this true?
Very well. Name the person, if you will, and further investigation is warranted. The prosecution has no objection to the trial continuing.
Name the other person who could have perpetrated the crime. Where is she? There she is.
Take that!
The defense would once again like to request the cross-examination of a new witness, my lord.
Once again?
My assistant made the same request earlier. In order to finally reveal the truth about this case, it's imperative that we cross-examine juror number 4, Mrs. Joan Garadeb.
Me? Oh, dearie me.
Objection!
That request has already been denied.
Objection!
But the situation's very different now. Mrs. Garadeb, answer me this.
What do you want now, you little toad?
At the time of the incident, you were engaged in a violent argument with your husband, Mr. John Garadeb. In the course of the argument, a minor house fire was ignited. And to clear the smoke from the room, your husband opened a window that looks out over Briar Road.
Well, what's of it?
You threw this book at your husband when he was cornered against his back, with his back against the window. Upon striking the pane of the open top-hinged casement window, the book plummeted directly down, finding its way to what we now know to be the true scene of the incident.
Yes, and as I said, what's of it?
During the argument, you were beside yourself with rage. As such, you threw not just books, but anything you could lay your hands on. So, let me ask you one more time, Mrs. Garadeb. This knife, the one removed from the victim's back. You really never laid eyes on it before.
Duh. Oh, I don't recall it.
Seriously?
Am I supposed to remember everything I picked up and threw at my husband? Anyway, the man over there's in all regalia said the members of the jury needn't testify, didn't he?
Conveniently, yes.
Objection!
No, I have no recollection of saying that at all. Juror number 4.
Oh!
Make no mistake, you jurors are not special in any way. You're not immune to the judicial process. If you know something about this knife, madam, let the truth come out.
But that's just a common garden knife. It could have come from anywhere. We have several like that at home. If one went missing,
How do you expect me to know?
What's that?
Are you joking?
What are you saying, please, Mrs. Garrideb?
Now you listen to me. I refuse to believe all this nonsense. I couldn't bear the thought that I'd injure someone. Do you hear? I couldn't bear it. Though the poor woman. So, yes, I want evidence. I want to see hard evidence if you're going to insist on it being my fault. You're going to have to prove to me that I threw that knife if that's what you think. Come along now. Chop chop. Do your worst. Well, Mr. Naruhodo? If I had evidence like that, believe me, I would have thrown it at her already.
Then take the stand, Jorah.
Oh!
The prosecution does not object to the defense's request to cross-examine this woman.
Thank you, Lord Van Zeeks. Oh, I'm gonna have to testify.
Juror number 4. As I'm sure you will appreciate having observed it with your own eyes today. Witness testimony can lead to the most extraordinary truths being unearthed. Truths of which the witness themselves may not even been aware.
Oh, dearie me.
I demand your full and unadulterated testimony, Mrs. Garrideb. And mark my words, in this court of law today, we shall extract the truth. Do you concur, counsels?
Certainly, my lord.
Oh, that's what I'm hoping for, my lord. It's such a strange feeling. For the first time since arriving in this country, it actually feels real. I'm here, in the Old Bailey, and I'm a lawyer.
Witness, state your name and occupation.
Oh, yes, my name's Joan Garrideb. And well, I'm a juror, and such like. It sounds like even she doesn't know if she's a housewife or a maid, or what anymore.
The court has decided your testimony is required in order to clarify matters in this case. Do you understand, madam?
Yes, my lord.
You will tell the court everything that took place in your household on the evening in question. And I warn you, do not attempt to hide the truth.
Oh, dearie me.
Chin up, Jody. Nothing to worry about now.
Oh, I didn't know you were here, John.
Wasn't only you in the room that day, old thing, was it? Rather. I thought I ought to testify as well, don't you?
But what about your knee, dear?
Don't you worry about that. Hardly notice it. I'm not the sort of chap to leave a comrade to face disciplinary action alone.
Oh, John.
I presume you are Mr. John Garrideb?
Yes, sir. Former 2nd Lieutenant of the 3rd Regiment of the North Northumberland Fusiliers, sir. I've seen my first share of action, and now living in the quiet life, as it were.
The quiet life, where you're not engaged in an incendiary battle with your spouse on the day in question.
Ah, well, yes, quite.
I believe this may represent a first in the proud history of the British courts. Calling a juror to the witness stand is unprecedented. However, the court will hear your testimony now, juror number 4, and that of your husband. You will recount clearly and concisely the events of your home at the time of the incident in question.
Sir, at once.
And we will hear this testimony tomorrow. And I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for hanging out and stuff. Appreciate it. Tomorrow.